Boy. Ngumingiti sila eh. Video naman to. Kala mo picture eh.
At least ready. Malay mo picture lang.
Ay, dito pala pwede. Pwede pala na pwesto natin eh. Mga electric pan lang.
Nasaan ba ang castle?
Secret.
Kaya naman ako makita. Si Mama oh.
Baboy. Basta na yun. Nakita mo na.
Ano?
Yung castle.
Hindi.
Wala pa naman eh.
Mga kaway-kaway pa. Parang comedy.
Lumahawakan.
Parang sa maharap na tayo sa ganyan.
Parang packet ng Bicol.
Welcome to Hearst San Simeon State Historical Monument, popularly known as Hearst Castle. It was once the home of newspaper publisher William Randolph Hearst.
As we drive to the castle, we will travel a distance of 5 miles or 8 kilometers to an elevation of 1,600 feet or 488 meters. For your safety, please remain seated while the bus is in motion and keep your head and arms inside the bus at all times. A reminder, we do not permit eating, drinking, or smoking on the bus. Now we will provide you with information about the Hearst family and the ranch at San Simeon. When California joined the United States in 1850, much of the land passed from Mexican ownership to United States citizens. 15 years later, in 1865, George and Phoebe Apperson Hearst, William Randolph's parents, purchased the Piedra Blanca, San Simeon, and Santa Rosa ranchos. William Randolph Hearst, born in San Francisco, California in 1863, was 2 years old at the time. The Hearst land holdings in the area totaled over 250,000 acres, or 101,000 square hectometers. This converts to more than 300 square miles, or 777 square kilometers of property, which then included 50 miles, or over 80 kilometers of coastline. William Randolph Hearst inherited the family holdings in 1919 at the age of 56, after he had made his own fortune in publishing.
Mr. Hearst loved animals and once had the world's largest privately owned zoo on this ranch. The zoo had over 60 types of grazing animals and over 30 types of carnivorous animals. There are still 4 types of grazing animals, descendants from the original herds on the ranch. Barbary sheep from North Africa, sambar deer from India, and Roosevelt elk from North America. Watch for these exotic animals as we continue to the castle. They are free-roaming animals, so we do not see them every day. There are also zebra on the ranch. Zebra could sometimes be seen in the low grasslands near Highway 1 between our visitor center and the campground 5 miles or 8 kilometers to the south past the motels. Now, watch over to the left for one of the log cabin-style structures used as animal shelters. They were built to provide shelter for the zoo animals during severe weather and as feeding stations. There are only 3 of these structures still standing, and this one is the most visible. Many other animals roam the 2,000-acre or 800 square hectometer zoo reserve, often surprising Mr. Hearst's guests as they rode to the Enchanted Hill. These animals included
Kung lakarin mo lang to, ano?
reindeer, elk, kangaroo, and fallow deer. Most of the carnivorous animals were kept in cages behind the garage area at the hilltop. These animals included lions, leopards, tigers, and cheetahs. The bear cages were the most modern of the time. They provided more freedom of movement for the animals than the cages in most American zoos. Mr. Hearst provided for all the special needs of all the animals in his zoo. He also raised dogs, such as Boston Terriers and Dachshunds, in a kennel structure that provided the only air conditioning found on the Enchanted Hill.
Pinakwento ni ate mo, dati daw, dinrive daw nila to. Kaya pala, 20 years ago pa pala yun.
Construction in the village of Old San Simeon and on the castle started in 1919. Architect Julia Morgan developed the village and the castle so that Mr. Hearst, his guests, and his employees could live in comfort. Homes were built at San Simeon Bay for the construction superintendent, head groundskeeper, and branch manager. A bunkhouse for the single men who worked on the ranch, in the orchards, or at the poultry farm were constructed nearby. Barracks were built on the south slope of the hilltop for the construction crews. A servants' wing was added to the castle in the late 1920s for the household staff. All of these buildings still exist, but are not open to the public.
Because the ranch was isolated, Mr. Hearst had to make it as self-sufficient as possible. The orchard supplied fruit, including plums, cherries, apples, pears, and oranges. At the poultry farm, they raised pheasant, geese, ducks, turkeys, and chickens. The dairy herd had more than 100 Jersey cows. It supplied fresh butter and whole milk. Of course, the beef cattle herd provided much of the beef. In addition to the food raised on the ranch, other foods like Maine lobster, Mexican enchiladas, German sausage, and Swiss cheese were purchased in bulk and shipped in.
The water system for the ranch was also designed by Julia Morgan, who was a civil engineer as well as an architect. It is a gravity flow system without any pumps. The water comes from 3 natural springs on Pine Mountain just east of the castle at an elevation of nearly 3,000 feet or about 900 meters. It flows through pipelines to a 1.5 million gallon or 5.7 million liter reservoir at 2,000 feet or 610 meters. From the reservoir, one pipeline serves the castle and the second serves the ranch buildings and Old San Simeon below. Electricity was supplied to the castle by a hydroelectric plant until the mid-1920s, when the ranch and castle were finally connected to public utilities. The road that we travel follows more or less the original ranch road, which was dirt until 1945 when it was paved for the first time.
Today, the ranch is owned by the Hearst Corporation and is about 90,000 acres, or 36,000 square hectometers in size. They run a beef cattle operation of about 5,000 heads. You will usually see the cattle grazing on the hillsides during our trip to the castle. In 1957, the Hearst Corporation gave about 150 acres of land and the castle buildings to California state parks as a historical monument for the public to enjoy.
When we enter the landscaped area near the castle, notice the wide variety of trees and shrubs planted by Mr. Hearst's gardening staff and the beautifully crafted rock wall that lines the roadway. On the hilltop up to the left, you may see glimpses of a large concrete pillared structure called the pergola. In Mr. Hearst's time, the pergola was covered by grapevines and fruit trees growing up the sides and across the top. It was built for Mr. Hearst as a place where his guests could ride horseback or drive an automobile while enjoying the shade